So I got a chance to see part three of The Chosen, The Last Supper. If you know anything about me, you know that I have been following this series from the beginning. I own all four seasons on DVD, and I think it might be the greatest series I've ever seen. As people continue to talk about the MCU or the failure of this series or the booming, Taylor Sheridan, whatever, which, I enjoy those too. I enjoy 1923, Mobland, whatever you want, whatever Paramount Plus is putting out Linus. I enjoy those as well. But this might be the best series I've ever seen. I've probably rewatched it 5 times from the beginning all the way to the end of season 4. Now, within the past 3 weeks, season 5 has dropped. 3 weeks ago, we saw episodes 1 and 2. Last week, we saw episodes 3 through 5. And then last night, we got to see episodes 6 through 8. And I'm going to read this directly off of Grok. It says, The Chosen Season 5, subtitled The Last Supper, focuses on the events of Holy Week, depicting pivotal moments in the life of Jesus Christ leading up to his arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. The season consists of 8 episodes released theatrically in 3 parts in the United States, as I said, and Canada before streaming exclusively on Amazon Prime Video starting in June 2025. Below is a detailed summary based on available information. Season 5 picks up where season 4 left off, with Jesus' raising of Lazarus, prompting the Sanhedrin and religious leaders to plot against him because, hey, guess what? If there's a Messiah, then we don't necessarily need a religious establishment and these guys who have amassed power and wealth and an enormous amount of hubris losing their position. The season opens up with a triumphal entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, where crowds celebrate Jesus as a king while his disciples anticipate his rise to power. However, instead of challenging Roman authority, Jesus disrupts the Jewish religious establishment by turning tables in the temple, escalating tensions with the Pharisees, Caiaphas, and political figures like Pontius Pilate. The narrative builds toward the Last Supper, Judas' betrayal, and the looming threat of Jesus' arrest. And so we understand each other. Obviously, this isn't exactly going to be spoiler free because it's a 2,000-year-old narrative, but I'm not going to get into too many of the small details as it relates to the specifics of the series because I want you to be able to enjoy them with fresh eyes. So there are some twists, some turns. I will say quickly that the series or the season ends with Judas's kiss in the garden. That's how it ends. I think one of the things that I enjoy about this series so much is the exposure to Jesus' humanity. You don't get that very often, whether it's been, some of the great interpretations, Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth, or the greatest story ever told, or Jeffrey Hunter and King of Kings, so on and so forth. He's always very flat, staring directly at the camera like this, speaking thusly. His followers are yes, Lord, no, Lord. And though I mean absolutely no disrespect to those performances, but when you have 40 episodes so far, each running about 45 minutes to an hour apiece, you have a lot more opportunity to flesh out who all of these characters are. And the term the chosen also, directly refers to his followers. So we're getting to see that they're just not, yes, Lord, no, Lord, is it I, Lord, types of people. They're real people with real problems, real flaws, and even in the face of their devotion to Jesus, they struggle to accept what he says at face value, always through the interpretation of their own flaws through their own lens, um, making mistakes as they go, stumbling, falling back through tragedies, through doubts. And I think that's what separates this show from a lot of other gospel inspired films and series that you may have seen before. You grow to care about these characters, you understand who they are and a lot of what they've been through, whether it's through, and we'll go back to season 3 with Simon, um, with his wife, he and his wife losing their baby, having a miscarriage, he not understanding why Jesus is outperforming miracles, saving other people when his own lead apostle right here is going through great tragedy that he makes absolutely no reference to. In season 4, we get to see Thomas lose his fiance to violence in one of the mobs that erupts out of one of Jesus's teaching, falling into doubt as to why people are being raised from the dead while his fiance lies there dead and with no miracle in her future. So I mean, it's just fantastic. Jesus' own frustration with his followers who just seem unable to accept what he's telling them in terms of what's going to happen to him, that he's going to die and be brought back in 3 days. They always seem to filter it or sort of filter it through their own lens of denial that, how can the Messiah die? That doesn't make sense. And it's very counterintuitive. And that is one of the things I think that prompts, at least in this interpretation, the betrayal of Judas. He doesn't understand how the Messiah isn't targeting the Romans, he's targeting spiritual warfare. He's targeting spiritual death. That's what he's trying to save people from, not the occupation, but from sin, which is discussed in the first season with the John 3:16 scene between Jesus and Nicodemus. And Judas just has an unwillingness to accept that. It has to be the Romans. That's what he's here for, right? But he's not the military leader. He is a spiritual Messiah who's here to save people from sin. And so, and Judas's, and I think the actor who portrays Judas is absolutely fantastic because in his mind, if he betrays Jesus, then all Jesus really has to do is to snap his fingers and, he's going to break free of any restraints, physical bindings, any handcuffs, anything like that. And that will sort of force him to show his hand and establish who he is. He doesn't understand that Jesus's plan is for something else. It is to allow his arrest and execution and torment beforehand. Luke Dimion. Luke Dimion is just doing a fantastic job. That's his name. And he is just amazing. And there is a particular scene because this occurs also over the Last Supper. And the way that the Last Supper is handled, I won't get into the specifics of what's said, although, you kind of understand the story. But it's done over the course of the first 7 episodes with these 5-minute vignettes from the Last Supper. And then it'll launch into the episode. And then you go into episode 2, and it immediately goes back to the Last Supper, sort of backtracking from the end of it to the beginning. So by the time you get to the 7th episode, the Last Supper has just begun. And perhaps one of the most chilling scenes in the entire series occurs during that Last Supper. I need to see this again because, again, it's just so much sensory and emotional overload that I need to rewatch this several times because you just don't want to miss a thing. It really is that good. Um, it's overwhelming. It's quite overwhelming. I'm trying to think. There's also some. I mean, obviously, even though we're this far, and I think once we got to season 4, we started to see a much more serious tone consistently throughout because, it starts to get violent with the death of John the Baptist and the death of other people, periphery, secondary, and maybe even tertiary characters. But by the time we get to season 5, there's still some humor in there. And I think there was more humor in this season than there was in season 4. And they even tackled something with John related to solitary sin, which I saw some people online complaining about it. This isn't Christian, or this isn't that. But I actually thought that they were quite bold to take something like that on. Getting to see other humorous things happen with Simon and some of the apostles as they attempt to go out and preach for the first time. Now moving into season 6, which I understand starts filming on Monday. It's going to be the passion. I don't know, how I feel about that exactly. It's going to be very hard. This has not been a series that has focused on brutality, so I don't know how they're going to handle it. I'm not expecting a Passion of the Christ kind of, you know, um, physicality, but I'm not expecting it to be easy. You've grown so attached to Jonathan Rumi in his portrayal as Jesus. You don't want to see him suffer. You don't want to see the other people stumble and fall. And when you think about it, I mean, especially now having watched this as long as I have and as many times as I have, it becomes much more relatable when you start to think about how it must have just felt like the end of the world. I mean, you're with the Messiah, suddenly he's being arrested, suddenly he's being tortured. I mean, all within the span of a day. And then, from one day to the next, he's just dead. I mean, it just must have felt like the world was ending. So, I mean, I'm sure they're going to do a great job handling that. I really do feel like, this is a divinely inspired program. I don't know that I've ever seen a show that I thought was divinely inspired. Maybe, maybe, no. I was going to say maybe the closest thing that I've seen to something that at least grabbed me in that sort of way, or came close to grabbing me in that sort of way, was Scorsese's Last Temptation. But it's just so relentlessly bleak. And as I get older in my own faith, I'm not looking for a prudish or bleak kind of faith. I'm looking for a more joyful, not hating the world, not flagellating myself going down the street kind of faith. So I probably move a lot closer to this and what Dallas Jenkins is doing, as opposed to, um, Scorsese's interpretation from Kazantzakis' book. And Kazantzakis was excommunicated for writing that. And it's wow, it's a bleak story. And again, I'm finished with it. I will give it 5 stars. I'm going to give it 5. I'm going to give this season 5. My rating system for this channel goes from 0 to 5. Up I have 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. Yeah, I'm going to give this a 5. I can't wait to watch it again. If you get a chance before it leaves the theaters, I'm not sure if part 1 is still in the theaters. I think part 2 is. Go see it. That's my video. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. One word comment is fine. It helps me get into the algorithm. I will see you all in the next one. Okay, everyone, take care, and God bless you. All the best.